In the picturesque city of Bradford, West Yorkshire, England, a girl named Samia Shahid was born on November 15, 1987. Bradford, which had become home to a large South Asian community, was already the sixth largest city in England at the time, known for its diverse ethnic population. It was here that the large Shahid family, who originated from Pakistan, settled. Samia's parents, Chaudry Muhammad and Matthias, had once left their native village of Pandori in Pakistan, hoping to find a better life on British soil. Together with her sister Mida, Samia grew up at the intersection of two worlds, traditional Pakistani and modern British. As second-generation immigrants, the sisters balanced daily between the cultural values of their ancestors and the realities of Western society in which they had to live. The Shahid family was respected in the Bradford community for their entrepreneurial activities. Their parents ran a limousine and car rental company, one uncle owned an establishment serving traditional British fish and chips, another ran a flower shop. The five brothers of mother Matthias were well known in the area. Samia, surrounded by numerous cousins and their children, found joy in the warmth of her large family. The cheerful and sociable Samia was especially attached to her father. For her, Chaudry Muhammad's word was law, and she readily fulfilled any of his requests, receiving paternal love and care in return. Despite the girls receiving a Western education, the Shahid family firmly held on to their Muslim traditions and Pakistani culture. There were certain restrictions. For example, Samia, who loved fast driving, was not allowed to get behind the wheel. However, this didn't stop her from occasionally renting a car and enjoying high speeds. She also loved taking care of herself, experimenting with makeup and hairstyles. Samia worked part-time at the Bradford post office, although she was financially completely dependent on her father, who generously provided for his favorite daughter. Her sister Mida had a somewhat different worldview, but despite their differences in views, both sisters put family values above all else. In Pakistani culture, family traditions are of paramount importance. Although Samia usually got everything she wanted, she always needed family approval. Every important decision had to be coordinated with parents and elder relatives. Due to her deep attachment to family and fear of upsetting loved ones, Samia often concealed certain aspects of her life, particularly her passion for car racing. When Samia turned 25 in 2012, her parents decided it was time for important changes in her life. They believed that the period of free life by Western standards should end. Her mother insisted on a trip to Pakistan for a traditional marriage arrangement. Although Sunni Islam does not require arranged marriages, this practice is still widely supported in their culture. Her parents' proposal regarding a specific groom didn't come as a surprise to Samia. Her agreement was based not on personal desire but on the aspiration to meet family expectations. Respecting her cultural heritage and wanting to make her parents happy, in February 2012, she agreed to marry Chaudry Muhammad Shakeel. Shakeel, who came from their native village of Pandori and was Samia's cousin, would hardly have been her personal choice. She had known him since childhood and perceived him more as a brother than a potential husband. Moreover, his reputation was tainted by recent imprisonment for killing someone during a land dispute. In Pakistani tradition, marriages between distant relatives are arranged to keep land ownership within the family. Samia's parents, who were also cousins, had such a marriage in their youth and managed to build a happy married life. Wedding preparations were accompanied by numerous shopping trips to Pakistani stores, where Samia, using her father's money, chose luxurious outfits, jewelry, and accessories. Despite outward interest in wedding preparations, the girl understood that material wealth doesn't guarantee happiness. Although the choice of groom didn't match her inner desires, Samia resigned herself to the situation. She understood her parents' good intentions but sensed that marriage to Shakeel wouldn't bring her happiness. However, fear of upsetting the family forced her to hide her true feelings and pretend to be happy. Before flying to Pakistan in mid-February 2012, Samia wrote a message to a friend, confessing that she considered this the biggest mistake of her life. In the message, she also wrote that she felt enormous pressure from her family and was afraid to refuse the marriage due to possible consequences. This confirms that her consent to marriage wasn't entirely voluntary. Later, her sister Mida denied these claims, insisting that Samia had several proposals and chose Shakeel herself, emphasizing that it was an arranged marriage but without coercion. Upon arriving in Pakistan to meet her future husband, Samia shared with friends her negative impressions of Shakeel, confessing that she couldn't look at him without disgust. The wedding ceremony was lavish and crowded. Numerous guests from Bradford arrived in Pakistan to share the joy of this event. The 4-day celebration began on February 27, 2012, gathering over 1,000 guests. As a wedding gift, the newlyweds received their own house next to the family home in Pandori. After the wedding, the couple settled in the gifted house. Samia tried to reconcile with the changes in her life and lived with her husband for 4 months before returning to Bradford in June 2012. Shakeel remained in Pakistan, waiting for immigration documents to be processed. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will bring you more videos featuring the most shocking true crime stories. The Nikah wedding ceremony, conducted in Pakistan, was an official marriage contract according to Muslim customs. Under Sharia law, such a ceremony, conducted in the presence of witnesses and a cleric, is considered a legal marriage. However, for recognition in Great Britain, an additional civil ceremony and official marriage certificate were needed. Without these documents, the Nikah had no legal force in other countries. After returning to Britain, friends noticed dramatic changes in Samia's behavior. She became different, and it was obvious that she harbored resentment towards her parents for their decision regarding her marriage. Samia's life after returning to Great Britain became complicated by constant control from Shakeel. Despite the geographical distance, he demanded daily communication via Skype, insisting on maintaining video connection throughout most of the day. The psychological pressure became so unbearable that in August, the young woman sent a voice message to her friend, full of despair, where she confessed her desire to die and her hatred of married life with Shakeel. However, relatives presented a completely different version of events. According to them, Samia proudly told her family in Bradford about her luxurious wedding and claimed she was happy in marriage. They argued this by saying she voluntarily returned to Pakistan, to Shakeel. These contradictory testimonies indicated the complexity of the situation in the marriage. After 6 months of living with her husband in Pakistan, Samia returned to Britain again. Friends noticed dramatic changes. Before them once again stood the cheerful, smiling girl they had known before. The reason for such changes was her acquaintance with Syed Mukhtar Kazim, whom friends simply called Ali. He was of Pakistani origin, had British citizenship, and worked in Dubai. Their acquaintance began on the internet, and their first personal meeting took place in London in October 2013. There was an immediate mutual attraction between them. For Ali embodied the ideal partner, caring, loving, understanding. Their feelings were deep and mutual, and Samia's presence filled Ali's life with special meaning. While aware of the risks in their relationship, they still believed their love was stronger than possible threats and the hatred of others. Samia opened up to Ali, telling him about her marriage to someone she perceived as a brother and about his constant control. Ali couldn't comprehend how a father could dispose of his daughter's fate as if she were goods for exchange. Samia dreamed of a future with Ali, living together, raising children, growing old together. To fulfill these plans, it was necessary to end her marriage with Shakeel. Since their marriage had no legal force under British law, the divorce had to take place according to Muslim customs. In May 2014, Samia approached Shakeel with a request for divorce but was refused. Under Sharia law, for a marriage to be valid, voluntary consent of both parties is necessary. If it is discovered that consent was obtained under pressure, physical, financial, psychological, or emotional, the marriage can be declared forced and invalid. Seeking a resolution to the situation, Samia turned to the Islamic Sharia Council of Great Britain. She also converted from Sunni Islam to the Shia branch, which Ali followed. At a meeting with the cleric, she testified under oath that her first marriage was arranged under family pressure, without her true consent. The cleric tried to get explanations from Shakeel, but he refused to discuss the situation. As a result, Mr. Kazim, who handled the case, declared the marriage invalid. Samia signed the divorce papers in the presence of several friends, hiding this from her family, despite still living in her parents' home in Bradford. Soon after, Samia and Ali planned their own wedding. In September 2014, they secretly married in Leeds, where only a few close friends were present. The ceremony was conducted by the same cleric, Mr. Kazim, who had processed Samia's divorce from Shakeel. This time, the newlyweds also officially registered their marriage at the British Registry Office. The wedding day was full of joy. Samia confessed to a friend that she felt like a real princess and was beaming with happiness. However, the joy proved short-lived. In October 2014, Samia, who was walking down the street with her cousin, was attacked by unknown men. The attack was clearly planned, only Samia was hurt, beaten with metal rods on her legs. The girls immediately went to the police, documenting numerous bruises on the victim's legs. Bradford police opened a criminal case regarding the attack, but no one could be held accountable due to the lack of witnesses and video evidence. This incident became the first documented act of violence against Samia after her second marriage. This incident was most likely connected to her marriage to Ali and organized by people close to her family. At that time, Ali had to return to work in Dubai, leaving his wife in Bradford waiting for a visa. The Shahid family learned about the attack from their daughter's call from the police station. Instead of support, Samia heard a stream of abuse from her mother, Matthias, who didn't suspect that police officers were listening to their conversation. Samia deliberately turned on the speakerphone to demonstrate to law enforcement the toxicity of her family environment. The once happy home turned into a prison for her, where she endured abuse from her closest people. Life in a family with unwavering beliefs and established values became unbearable. Samia felt she was suffocating from constant control but saw no way out until she met Ali. For a girl raised in Western society but dependent on parental decisions, the possibility of independent choice seemed unattainable. The secret marriage to Ali became a source of strength and hope for her. Her parents only learned about her divorce from Shakeel in May 2015 and sharply condemned her action, although until this moment they hadn't openly expressed their suspicions. The family categorically refused to recognize the legitimacy of the divorce, claiming that the Islamic Sharia Council had no legal authority either in Great Britain or in Pakistan. In their view, Samia was still legally married to Shakeel. Her mother Imtiaz reacted particularly strongly, constantly reproaching her daughter, accusing her of degrading family honor. After Ali's return to Dubai, he hoped for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. However, the young couple understood that their life in Bradford would never be safe due to family rejection. Fortunately, that same month, Samia received a visa to Dubai. With the help of friends, she secretly purchased a ticket and prepared for departure. The decision to leave her family wasn't easy for Samia, considering her deep attachment to her loved ones. But for the first time in her life, she dared to go against her relatives' will for her own happiness, hoping that this sacrifice would justify itself. After Samia's departure to Dubai, her parents reported her missing to the police, refusing to acknowledge their daughter's independent choice. Upon learning of her secret marriage, they declared it invalid. The family even approached the Shia cleric Mr. Kazim demanding explanations. Rejecting any rational arguments, they viewed Samia's relationship with Ali as adultery, considering her still Shakeel's wife under Muslim law. The situation became so tense that the Shahid family began threatening the cleric for his participation in Samia's sin. Mr. Kazim was forced to contact the police, who provided him with security recommendations. In Dubai, Samia finally felt true happiness. She enjoyed freedom and love, drove a car, managed household duties, and was genuinely in love with Ali. She openly shared her joy on social media. Samia dreamed of becoming a mother as soon as possible. However, she couldn't completely abandon her family and sought to combine life in Bradford and Dubai. Samia wanted her future children to grow up British. Having lived almost her entire life in England surrounded by a large family, she couldn't accept the thought of a lifelong separation from her loved ones. In daily conversations with her parents, Samia tried to prove her innocence and right to happiness. She told them about how difficult each day of her marriage to Shakeel had been, and dreamed that her parents would love Ali as much as she did and accept her choice. Samia's most cherished dream was for her father to meet Ali, but this was not meant to be. Instead, Chaudry Muhammad called Ali demanding he leave his daughter. Ali firmly refused, emphasizing the legality of their marriage. For Muhammad, the new son-in-law did not become a family member, partly because he wasn't a Sunni Muslim. Moreover, the secret marriage without parental blessing was viewed as disrespect to the entire Shahid family, which caused condemnation in the community. In June 2016, Samia learned about the death of Shakeel's mother, her aunt. Deeply saddened by this loss, she wanted to go to the funeral in Pakistan. However, aware of the danger of such a journey, especially considering the accusations of family dishonor from Shakeel's relatives, she decided to stay in Dubai on Ali's advice. Soon after, her father's health, who suffered from diabetes, deteriorated sharply. Her mother and sister informed Samia that while in Pakistan, his condition had become critical, and time might be running out. Not wanting to bear the burden of guilt for life if her father died without saying goodbye to her, Samia decided to go to Pakistan. Although Ali was categorically against this decision, he felt helpless. How could he prevent her from seeing her father one last time? Moreover, her sister Mida had already purchased the ticket. Full of fear for his wife, Ali still drove her to the airport, giving her one last chance to change her mind. Samia, excited about the upcoming reunion with her relatives, assured her husband of her safety. On July 14, 2016, Samia flew to Pakistan, sending an anxious message to a friend before this, asking her to pray for her return alive. She also left detailed instructions with several close friends in Great Britain about what to do in case something happened to her. Among the documents was a list of emergency contacts and copies of important papers. She spent her first night in Pakistan at a friend's house, leaving her documents and return ticket in their safekeeping. During her stay, she maintained constant contact with Ali, assuring him of her safety. She spent most of her time with family, visiting her aunt's grave with her father on July 18. On July 19, when Ali told her about his worrying dream, she asked him to pray for her safe return to Dubai. 2 days remained until her planned return when, on July 20, Samia stopped responding to messages. Ali's unread messages caused him great concern. That evening, the police station in Pandori received a report about the death of a young woman. Arriving at the specified address, the police found Samia's body at the foot of the stairs. She was dead. Near the young woman's body lay her shoes and handbag. Her face was covered with a black scarf, her eyes closed. The police were contacted by a man who identified himself as Muhammad, Samia's father. He explained to law enforcement that his daughter lived in this house with her husband Shakeel, and pointed to the stairs from where she had allegedly fallen, leading to her death. When asked about Shakeel's whereabouts, the father merely shrugged, admitting he had no idea. After Samia's death, no one saw Shakeel. News of the tragedy quickly reached Pakistan, from where the deceased's mother and sister rushed to the scene. After the autopsy, the body was released to relatives, and that same day, the Shahid family organized the burial. The police report noted the absence of injuries or obvious signs of violence, so the death didn't raise suspicions. Such haste with burial didn't raise particular questions, as according to Muslim traditions and Sharia law, if there are no doubts about the cause of death, burial should take place as soon as possible. Rumors about Samia's death spread through the city, but each version differed from the previous one. Some spoke of a heart attack or asthma attack, others insisted on a fall from the stairs and a broken neck. Local media reported due to depression caused by childlessness, although the family categorically denied this version. When Samia's cousin called Ali and informed him about her death from a heart attack, he initially took it as a poor joke or an attempt to keep her in Pakistan. Without wasting time, he flew out on the next available flight. Realizing the terrible reality, Ali went to the Pandori police station, reporting his wife's murder. He told the story of how Samia had left her first husband Shakeel, incurring the family's wrath. This information forced the police to look at the case from a different angle. A theory about honor killing emerged, but without access to the body, investigation was complicated. When British media became interested in the mysterious death of their fellow citizen, Samia's father, Muhammad, insisted in interviews that his daughter had a happy marriage with Shakeel, categorically denying Ali's existence and calling him a blackmailer. Upon obtaining a copy of the autopsy report, Ali discovered that Samia had a reddish-brown hemorrhage on her neck, and the cause of death was listed as strangulation. Male sperm was also found in her body. The medical examination also revealed numerous bruises and scratches on the body, indicating a struggle before death. Pathologists determined that death occurred between 10 o'clock and 11 a.m. on July 20, 2016. There is speculation that the police initially received a bribe to conceal the true cause of Samia Shahid's death. At a hastily convened press conference in Pakistan, Ali showed journalists photographs of his wife's neck bruise. He wanted the truth about Samia's death to become known, to establish the circumstances of her death and those responsible. After this, Ali began receiving death threats and required round-the-clock protection. Samia's British friends didn't stay on the sidelines. Through their connections, they approached Bradford MP Naz Shah. The MP sent a letter personally to Pakistan's Prime Minister, openly calling Samia's death an honor killing. Only after this did Pakistani police begin a thorough investigation. Naz Shah's intervention had consequences. 2 Bradford residents were arrested for threatening the parliamentarian. 8 days after his disappearance, Shakeel was found and questioned along with Samia's father. Shakeel confessed that he wanted to force his wife to end her new marriage and stay with him in Pakistan. He was enraged that she had left him, destroying his chances of moving to Great Britain. On the morning of July 20, he searched Samia's belongings for her passport and return ticket, but unsuccessfully. When attempts to convince her to stay failed, an angry Shakeel pushed her onto the bed and raped her. Samia tried to escape from the house where she had felt trapped during her first marriage, but her ex-husband caught up with her, wrapped a scarf around her neck, and strangled her. Although the father denied his involvement, this time the police didn't believe the tale of a happy marriage. Investigators concluded that the families of Shakeel and the Shahids couldn't accept Samia's decision to divorce and marry a non-Sunni Muslim, flee with him to Dubai, thereby depriving Shakeel of the opportunity to emigrate to Britain and disgracing the family. For them, a woman's desire for independence was an unacceptable luxury and betrayal of family values. When Samia tried to escape from her first husband, she encountered her father, who nodded approvingly to Shakeel. While Shakeel was strangling her, Muhammad held his daughter's legs. After the murder, Shakeel fled, and the father tried to disguise the crime as an accident. The problem lay in the lack of sufficient evidence. British police conducted their own investigation but due to jurisdictional limitations couldn't directly intervene in the case on Pakistani territory. However, evidence gathered by British investigators, including Samia's message history and testimony from her friends, significantly influenced public opinion and media coverage of the case. Although Samia's death was classified as murder, proving the guilt of specific individuals proved impossible. In September 2018, after 2 years of imprisonment, Shakeel was released on bail. His confession to police proved insufficient for a conviction in Pakistan. In 2019, he married another British woman of Pakistani origin and applied for a spousal visa to Great Britain, his long-standing goal. However, thanks to MP Naz Shah's intervention, the visa application was rejected. Samia's father, Chaudry Muhammad Shakeel, after 4 months of imprisonment, appealed to the Supreme Court and was released due to lack of evidence. In January 2018, he was hospitalized with kidney failure and died in Lahore at the age of 52. In October 2016, arrest warrants were issued for Samia's mother and sister, but they managed to return to Great Britain. Sister Meeta presented an entirely different version of events. According to her, their family was liberal and never forced anyone. She claimed that Samia often complained about life with Ali, telling how he took all her money and how difficult life was in Dubai. To support her words, she showed photographs that indicated the absence of luxury in her sister's life. Obviously, Samia had a completely different view of her life in Dubai. Meeta believed that the accusations destroyed their family, tarnished their reputation, and led them to poverty due to false statements. But whatever the case, this doesn't change the tragic fact: a young woman was deprived of life in its prime by those she trusted and loved. Samia Shahid deserved the right to her own choice, regardless of whether she was mistaken or not. No one has the right to take another's life. Unfortunately, the men from the Shahid family never understood this.
If you enjoy deep dives into true crime, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Until next time, friends!